gentlemen, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. Bigger and better than ever. It's the 2021 VCO SIMMY Awards with your host, Ben Constanduros.
And it's not just me this year in the presentation hot seat, but also my friends from VCO, Arjuna, George and Lewis will be helping me out this year. Arjuna, what a year for sim racing. It was a golden year thanks to COVID 2 years ago, but the momentum seems to have continued this year.
Oh, very much so. We've seen, the likes of SRO Esports having the real-world drivers get real-world points as a result of sim racing. So many big competitions, the likes of Virtual Le Mans, have seen the real-world drivers really take to the sim as well. It's been a breakout year in more ways than one, I think, and what a way for us to celebrate what a year it's been.
George, we also have a legitimate sim racer as a Formula One world champion. I think that's really cool for the whole real-to-virtual blend.
Absolutely, I think it's the perfect crossover, and of course we had the opportunity to interview him in the VCO Pro Sim series, which was extraordinary, and Team Redline's domination throughout that event, but quite something for him to win a Formula One World Championship off the back of that as well. An amazing coup for sim racing as well, and it's going to flourish off the back of it, I think.
Max has already got one simmy. Can he get a second this evening? Lots of different categories, lots of different new faces, Lewis, from what we saw in our first Sim Awards ceremony.
Yeah, it's brilliant to see some of the new categories coming along. Of course, sim racing's a topic which covers so much in the world of gaming. When we've got the new photography categories and stuff, our races, obviously we've introduced the oval racing category as well. You've got teams, series, and of course, things like the newcomers as well, to see those that are jumping into the sim racing scene. It really is quite an impressive award show we've got going on now.
So we say thank you very much for the moment to Arjuna and Lewis, and George is up first with the first 4 categories this evening. And we kick off with our first award, which is the award for Best Photography. George joins us for the first couple of awards. Photography in sim racing is such a specialist skill.
It certainly is. It takes a keen eye to obviously capture the cars at their very best, obviously with the setting as well, the atmosphere. People like to get a few sun shots as well of light in the background just to affluence some of the colours. It certainly is a very, very special task, and naturally we've seen so many perfect examples of photography in sim racing over many, many years now.
George, you've got the nominations. Go ahead.
The nominees for Best Photography are Elliot Roberts, Lewis McGlade, Aiku Marikala, Adam Hitchcock, and Mia Rose.
And the winner of Best Photography goes to Elliot Roberts and Improvised Design.
A hugely specialist skill, and something that we really should all appreciate, and is being represented for the first time here in the VCO SIMMY Awards. Elliot Roberts winning Best Photography. Just how tough, Elliot, is it to get a good photo out of all these different sims?
Well, you mentioned all the different sims. They all have their own quirks, but that's something that we learn and adapt from on our journey through this sim racing world. It's definitely nothing to be sort of shunned at. We have a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. It's not just myself, but also all the other creatives that obviously work within the industry, and there's some hugely talented people, obviously, that still deserve to be recognised, and hopefully next year they'll be represented properly.
Must be really a privilege to know that the community out there, nearly 9,000 I should say, voted for you to be in the shortlist and then to win this award. And ultimately, as a photographer, whether it be real or virtual. Rarely do you get a round of applause like that.
Yeah, it's a true privilege. I obviously say thank you to everybody that's voted for me and all the other members on our shortlist here. They're truly deserved. Yeah, starting 2 years ago, I never expected it to grow to anything of this size. Working alongside my university schedule, I was part-time working as well on a placement for my university degree, and trying to match all that in with the sim racing. We know how busy we are nowadays anyway. It's a true feat.
And what makes a good photo for you? What kind of makeup makes a good photo out of the sim racing?
A few basic things for me are lighting and composition. If you've got the composition, you're basically 50% of the way there, and then anything else, you're going towards your creative vision of how you want it to look and feel. You may change the temperature of the image, or you might bring some extra contrast in to give it a bit of an extra punch, but everybody has their own style. I've worked through mine, as I mentioned, in the last 2 years, and it's just something that's sort of stuck with me.
Must be really a privilege to have the flexibility in the sim of taking a photo from any angle at any moment, rather than perhaps in the real world where you are kind of stuck to certain limitations.
Yeah, definitely. As a spectator, I've actually found my love for photography through the virtual photography side of things. So going out to a real race circuit and going, oh, I can't actually take a photo from there. I need accreditation for this. It becomes quite difficult. And then obviously you have the difficulty with, you have a catch fencing in front of you. So yeah, it has its own peaks and troughs, but I enjoy the real world as much as the virtual.
Elliot, congratulations on the Best Photography SIMMY Award.
Thank you, Ben.
Let's have a look at the next category. Our second category of the SIMMY Awards for 2021 is Best Hardware. And George, an incredible one to judge, because each one of our nominations are really talking to different markets, aren't they?
They certainly do, and it depends as well on the platform, etc. And different hardware tends to favour certain drivers' requirements. And we've seen the advancements in technology in sim racing go up and up and up over the years, and it's been astonishing. There's far more demand and far more, I suppose, ingenuity going into each product that is available on the market. So I think we're going to be in for an interesting lineup.
Let's move into our nominations.
The nominees for Best Hardware are Fanatec, VRS, Simmercube, Heusingfeld, and Thrustmaster.
And the winner of Best Hardware goes to Fanatec.
Well, we're joined by Belma, Head of Marketing from Fanatec, and got to say, two-time winners now of the VCO SIMMY Award for Best Hardware. How does it feel to win it on consecutive years?
Yeah, it's great. I actually have the SIMMY Award here. It's going to be on our trophy shelf. It's really nice. It's we are pleased to receive it a second time. We are doing always our best to serve our customers, to entertain the community, and actually also to change the game a little bit. So it's a pleasure to have it. Thanks a lot for the nomination. Thanks a lot for the award, and good to be here.
Yeah, I mean, 2021 has been a difficult year. What have the highlights been, though, for Fanatec over the year?
Wow, we had a few things. I don't even know where to start. I mean, it started a little bit earlier, let's say in December, when we introduced our first automotive grade steering wheel. So it's a real car part basically for the BMW M4 GT3. And that's how it started in December and then continued through the year. I think the Fnatic GT World Challenge was a big achievement for our company, and I think also for the whole sim racing community. Sim racing is the first time part of a real championship. You can gain points with esports for a motorsport championship, which has never been done before. So that's something our CEO had a vision for, and it came true. It was a lot of work. We are so happy to find somebody with Stefan Rattel to make this happen and to change the world of motorsport, basically. I think that's only the beginning. I could imagine that in future it's going to be even more, like, let's say, maybe you're just going to have the qualifying in the simulator and then the race on Sunday on the real track. That's our long-term vision. And I think, yeah, it was a big milestone for the sim racing community. The other thing, we did such great things this year. I think the launch of the CSLDD in summer, the first affordable direct drive system, plug and play, in a lower entry-level market was a big achievement for us. We've been working on that many years and have been really proud, yeah, to make it happen. And now, not even a month ago, we announced the GT Pro. It's the first Gran Turismo licensed direct drive system for the PS5. We had already direct drive systems for the PS4, of course, but it's an entry-level product, starting with a complete package for $699.95. And yeah, we are shipping already the first units. It was a tough year, to be really honest. I mean, the whole pandemic changed a lot of things for, let's say, the automotive industry. Everybody knows that, also for the PC industry. And our products contain a lot of automotive parts. Most of our customers don't really recognize that, but it's how it is. So yeah, that's why we're also struggling with availabilities of parts which we need. And everybody who's going online in our shop and see long pre-order dates, I'm really sorry, but it's not up to us. We would love to sell more. Yeah, so tough year. A lot of good things happened in sim racing. It got even more popular, let's say. It started everything in 2020. And yeah, we're happy to be part of it.
Well, let's focus on the CSLDD and the Fanatec GT DD Pro, which, you know, are fantastic products when it comes to their approachability and their market value, say, being affordable to those coming into sim racing. Do you think this kind of raises the level in sim racing by making it approachable and making it affordable to the masses, this level of technology?
Definitely, 100%. I mean, our goal was to don't have belt-driven wheelbases anymore, just because direct drive gives you so much more feedback and you just feel everything so much more precise. That's what makes you better in the end. I mean, direct drive on its own doesn't make you instantly faster or something like that, but if you feel everything what comes from the track, from the car, every curb, then long term, of course, it makes you better. It's the same like in a real car as well. If you feel the feedback of the car and everything, how it slides through corners and whatever you want to compare, that's what we decided for us a few years ago, and that's the approach we want to continue to have. So that's why we introduced the CSLDD and then the GT Pro for the PlayStation to serve the markets. With our steering wheels, we can make it compatible to the Xbox as well, so you have cross-platform compatibility, and yeah, so that's definitely the goal. And I think the competition, because you mentioned the competition, I think everybody is taking the same approach, of course, long term.
Wow, thank you, Belma, and congratulations once again to Fanatec for best hardware in 2021. No worries. Well, on to the next award then.
like so many of our categories, the best video content category brings lots of different philosophies into current videos that you can see online, and kind of blurs over our next category as well, social media. Difficult one to judge, George.
It is a bit tricky. I mean, we've seen quite a few new content creators sort of hit the stage, shall we say, and many of them have a responsibility, they feel, of unleashing their expertise on the market, perhaps giving new viewers and new audiences to sim racing an opportunity to get involved and also enhance their own knowledge of esports and various other sim racing organizations and enterprises. It truly is an exciting field, and we've seen so many very, very talented individuals certainly pop up over the years.
Individuals or companies, here are the nominations.
The nominees for Best Video Content are Joachim Franusch, RaceSpot TV, Jimmy Broadbent, Veloci Esports, and BMW Esports.
And the winner of Best Content Creation goes to RaceSpot TV.
Joining me from RaceSpot TV is Will Vincent. Will, best video content seems to actually do an injustice to just the amount of content you guys create every single year.
We do. First of all, I have to say we are incredibly honoured to receive this SIMMY for Best Video Content. It was actually a massive surprise to us. We don't do content for the sake of winning awards. We do content because at the end of the day, there are so many sim racing fans around the world who seem to love what we do. And it's not just about us. It's the commentators that work with us. It's the guys that do all the work behind the scenes on graphics and camera angles. But most importantly, it's actually about the guys who watch the content, the viewers around the world who, you know, sometimes they have a laugh with us. Sometimes they tell us what to do better. Some of the times they just sit there and watch the action, and we do this out of love more than anything else. And to win a SIMMY award for best video content, I think it's just the icing on the cake.
And are totally voted for by the community. It really does feel as though your kind of content and you've had to kind of bring the level up every single month, although because there is so much going on now in the world of sim racing generally in terms of competitors to what you guys do.
You're right. When we started doing this in 2014, you know, it took us a while to get on our stride. But ever since the pandemic hit, March 2020, things have changed so much. And that's because of actually our competitors and the people that we work around. You know, we've had so many new partners get involved. We've got like the likes of BMW and Porsche that we've been working with really around the world over the last 18 months or so. But there's also content that's coming out in America and Australia, really good series. And yes, they have a lot of backing behind them, but it means that we have had to ramp up what we do. And we've actually had to change the way that we think about our broadcast and our content so much. And you're right, you know, competition creates competition and competition creates excellence. And to get to where we are in the last, 18 months, 2 years is a massively different from where our own roadmap was, to be honest.
Will, you mentioned that there's a huge team of people in RaceSpot TV, the commentators, the producers, and the directors. Just name a couple of the guys that are really influential and part of the core team and the core crew.
I'll tell you one thing, we were actually almost going to get Hugo Luis on camera, but unfortunately he's feeling a bit poorly today. But of course, we couldn't have RaceSpot without Hugo. He has been my business partner, one of my best friends since 2013 now. So RaceSpot is Hugo. Hugo is RaceSpot. Simple as that. I mean, a lot of people seem to think I'm the public face of the company, but it's Hugo that does all the hard work. And then we've got a massive list of producers. We have people that's been with us pretty much since day one. People like Paul Smith, people like Connery Maddock. We've got then the newer people like Arjuna Kankipati, Tyler Maxon's involved in a lot of our work. And the commentators, yeah, there are too many to name. And I don't want to name a few and not name the others, otherwise I'll get into trouble. very quickly, but every single guild commentator that's done a broadcast with RaceSport TV since we started, I mean, pretty much this is for them. And finally, I also want to give a shout out to the guys that's been running some of these events that has enabled us to step up our content as well. People like Ricardo Edelman, who's been so involved, being my right-hand man when we have to either go to places like Munich or Frankfurt, or the virtual Munich and Frankfurt, of course, like we did with you last year, Ben. And the ability for a lot of our team to adapt, I think, is so important, and it's the reason why there's just not one person involved in this. It is pretty much everyone who has ever been a part of one of our broadcasts.
Well, best video content for RaceBot TV in 2021. Congratulations, Will.
Thank you very much, Ben.
Let's move on to our next nomination. George's last category is Best Social Media. And George, social media can be so many different things. Video, written, Twitter, Instagram.
Yeah, it sort of crosses over, as you did allude to earlier on, with the video content side as well. But nevertheless, it has its own identity, and you're quite right. It can exist across many different areas. It can be video, it can be images, it can be text, it can be absolutely anything. But the one thing that stands true in amongst all of it is that it's there to push the world of sim racing. And that's exactly what these nominees have been doing.
Let's have a look at who you decided the shortlist should be.
The nominees for Best Social Media are Ballas Esports, Jimmy Broadbent, BS Plus Competition, DDF Racer, and Unicorns of Love.
And the winner of Best Social Media goes to the one, the only, Jimmy Broadbent.
And it's always a great pleasure to have Jimmy Broadbent with us, who retains the Social Media Award for a second year. But Jimmy, it's quite tough for you to keep that level so high that you aspire to have, but also achieve.
Yeah, a man came around, Ben, tried to take the award away from me, but I wrestled him to the ground. I'm very strong. But yeah, really nice to sort of be recognised, I guess, again for my social media outpouring, I think, as it's known. It's not really something you sort of. It's not a tough thing. It's more just expression of opinion, I think, and especially in racing nowadays and sim stuff, it's very easy to be very. What's the kindest way of saying it? Very forthright in your opinion. I think sometimes you have to sort of reel it back in a little bit and be a bit more down the middle. I try to do that my best, and yeah, hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully, people enjoy my thoughts in their raw form.
Opinions are good things, and everybody has them. A bit like something else, like your body. Jimmy, your content has changed a little bit this year because of your activities in real-world racing. How have you seen that develop on your channel?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's gone fairly well. You know, like it's always a big step going from sort of a nice, comfy tinsel chair here into a real racing car and doing stuff there. But I kind of feel like the audience has moved with me, because I think that the whole channel itself has been sort of this growing thing in terms of where we are at points of our lives. For me, sort of starting in my mid-20s now, getting into my 30s, and I think the audience is growing with it. So sort of having the opportunity to do the next step on the ladder, so to speak, has really suited the channel well, and I've really enjoyed it. I think I like to think people have too. So.
I know that sometimes you struggle with content ideas, you get blanks, and sometimes kind of find yourself overworked, really. Do you have a plan for 2022? Do you have any objectives as to what your channel needs to be or what you want to do?
I've not really had a plan at all, Ben, these last 5 years. I just turn on the PC and hope for the best usually. But I mean, we've got a couple of racing, sort of real life racing series going on next year that I would sort of like to try and cover well, and maybe sort of change the style a little bit, because I think that this year was more just like a filling out and seeing what works and what doesn't work. And at the same time, sort of retaining the fun bit of sim racing, because I think that sim racing, you can take that super seriously and maybe not have as much fun with it as you should be having with it. And I think that given that's how I enjoyed the hobby when I first started, and how I made the channel out of it, I suppose I want to try and get back into that mindset of just being, I'm here for fun, let's smash some cars, run some circuits and enjoy ourselves.
You're very right. Sometimes we forget that we're in it for having enjoyment and rather than all the serious awards. But you have one in your hand this year, the SIMMY Award for Best Social Media. Congratulations, Jimmy.
Yeah. Get in frame, there you go.
And those are our 4 winners in our first 4 categories, folks. Incredible to say the least. All of them worthy winners as well. And just over to yourself, Lewis. Obviously, look at the photography side. Unfortunately, you did not win it, but that privilege went to Elliot Roberts, of course, from Improvised Designs. Hardware going to Fanatec. What are your thoughts on those first 2?
I mean, obviously, photography is a fantastic category. Got to give a massive shout out to Elliot Roberts. I've worked with him a couple of times last year. Fantastic photographer, and just consistently does it across the board. But we're between Ika Maricala, Adam Hedgecock, and Mia Rose, all brilliant photographers. I would probably say I'm a solid 5th in that category, but I'll allow it.
You were in pretty good company, to say the least, but I have to say it was also a very feisty battle in the hardware department as well. Fanatec taking top spot in that one, but they were in amongst some really competitive names as well, weren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. When you account for some of the greatest developers of hardware in the sim racing world, of course, when you look at that, the 2 real standouts when it comes to large companies would be the Fanatec and the Thrustmasters. But then you look down towards the SimmerCubes, down towards the VRS, and then for me, I mean, I like myself a lot of Hoisting Veld. They produce pretty good social media content as well. I'd be really irritated from Enzo if I didn't say anything about them, but great stuff and a really nice group of guys. That said, Fanatec, they produce some of the most budget DD stuff that you can get your hands on in sim racing, and so it kind of makes sense that they'd be taking top honours.
Over to you, Arjuna. Obviously, plenty of competitiveness happening in the video content side and social media. RaceSpot spearheading the production value in sim racing right now, and worthy winners, I would say, as well.
I'm not biased at all, having been part of the team now for almost 2 years, but so much stuff goes into it. But there's so many people that I think really love the work that, of course, Jimmy does. He brings sim racing to such a wide audience, and now, making that step into real-world competition as well. Really great to see that. Joachim Franosch, who I've worked with as well on some of the series that we've done at RaceSpot, some fantastic highlights. He's worked for the likes of Redline, Ray Hall, Lennon, Lanigan in their esports effort. Very worthy as well. Now working with Coanda SimSport full-time. Then you've got the likes of Veloce and BMW, who are big names across of esports, across of motorsports as well. It is so many worthy winners. I'm just glad, as part of RaceSpot, that they took top honors there. And then in terms of social media as well, what an interesting group that we've got there. Jimmy may not have won the video content award, but he's won in social media against the likes of Unicorns of Love. Great social media content from them. Great team name as well. The Zebras BS Competition, who are always working hard on the socials to keep everyone up to date. Some great humor behind the scenes and really keeping in touch across of the social media world with people across of esports as well. Ballas Esports and DDF Racer as well. So many great social media presences that we see. Ultimately, though, Jimmy Broadbent coming out on top.
And all contributing to the growth of sim racing as well, which is absolutely why we love it and certainly why we want to see it continue to grow. So exceptional, to say the least. We're now going to throw it all the way back to Ben as we go through the next list of nominees.
And we now have Lewis McGlade with us for the next 4 categories. And best car, Lewis, is a really tricky one because we're not talking about one platform here. We're talking about many different platforms and many different cars.
Yeah, absolutely. Picking a best car from a whole multitude of simulators is never going to be an easy thing to pick from. It comes down to driver preference, to how well it accurately models the real world car. We don't have too many examples where they're replicated in different simulators, but all of our drivers will find some way to find their best car.
And here are the nominations.
The nominees for Best Car are BMW M4 GT3, Dallara P217 LMP2, Porsche 911 GT3R, Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo, and VW Jetta.
And the winner is the Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo on Assetto Corsa Competizione. Due to timings this year and with Ferrari's huge year in esports, we were unable to speak to Marco Matassa, but massive congratulations to Kunos and to the Ferrari Driver Academy for winning the VCO SIMMY for Best Car.
Lewis, the best newcomer category is a really open one for both teams, drivers, companies, whoever has really attached themselves to the community of VCO.
Yeah, it really is. The changing face of sim racing. It's happening all the time. All the newcomers, new drivers, teams, etc., all coming in all the time. And this is the award to them to show them that these are the stars of the future. Whether it's a team driver or anything else that we need to keep an eye on.
Let's have a look who you voted for on our shortlist.
The nominees for Best Newcomer are Esports, Robbie Stapleford, Abel Torres, Ballas Esports, and Prismatic Motorsports.
And the winner for Best Newcomer is Esports.
Best newcomer is a real-world team dipping their toes for the first time this year into virtual racing, Dua Motorsports. And with us is Robin, who is the team manager of the real-world team. Robin, what was the reasoning behind you guys getting involved in the virtual world of sim racing?
Yeah, so we start thinking about it 2-3 years ago, but this year we've got a perfect match where we are able, or what looks like where we planned it. So we are very happy that we was successful this season, and looking forward that we want to do it next year the same again.
And you've been recognised by VCO and the community of sim racing for your influence in sim racing for the first year. So you've done it particularly well then.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are very happy about that. We have a very good driver in our esports team, and all was perfect this year. Yeah.
And how do you grow this, and how do you manage the virtual and the real relationships that you've got? Because I know that Moritz, for instance, obviously now is a very talented real-world driver, as well as being so influential in your virtual program.
Yeah, so I'm the team manager from our real racing team, and Moritz is a perfect match. So he's my part in the esports team, and we are very close connected the whole week, and working very well together. Yeah.
And from the real world team to the manager of the virtual team, Moritz Lerner. And why did Dua Motorsport want to get involved in virtual racing as a real world team that was kind of it's a family run team, right?
Yeah, it's a family run team, and I think they just saw esports as like sim racing in general as a new opportunity to get something going. And yeah, they thought about it for quite a long time, and finally in 2021 they decided to do it, with approaching me to kind of lead the team a little bit, to get the teammates that worked really well together. And yeah, they made a good decision, I feel like.
And is this the ultimate virtual to real crossover, having a team that you can race for both in the virtual but also potentially in the real world as well?
I mean, it's always difficult to do both at the same time, but I think that's the ultimate goal. I think that works out. It would work out the best way. But obviously, doing both at the same time is always a question of money and yeah, development of other third-party people. But I mean, it's possible. That's why they're doing it, I think, and that's why they are looking into it, to potentially get sim drivers into the real world.
It's a good place to find them, that's for sure. Congratulations, Moritz, and best newcomer for the SIMMYS 2021.
Thank you.
And now let's move on to our next category. One of the most hard fought, but certainly one of the most simple to understand, best team in sim racing. What constitutes the best team for you, Lewis, this year?
Well, I mean, sim racing these days, it's not about a single platform. We're talking about the best team in sim racing. They've got to take part in all of the platforms. They've got to be at the front of all of them as well. It really is hard to be the best team in sim racing these days. Might have been a bit easier a few years ago, but now it's probably one of the toughest categories we've got.
So let's find out the nominations.
The nominees for Best Team are Kowanda Simsport, Balas Esports, Team Redline, Der Esports, and Rocket Simsport.
And the winner for best team goes to Team Redline.
And of course, from Team Redline, it's Atsi Kirchhoff who joins us now. A second SIMMY award in 2 years. Atsi, why do you think Team Redline is so supported in the sim community?
Well, I don't know. Maybe we had an incredible year. We won so much this year, and we pushed so hard as a team. So everyone has been part of the success. And yeah, I guess if you win, you get support. That's the way it is. But I think we are not an unattractive team, of course, with our drivers. And I hope this year, yeah, it was a good show.
What's the big moment for you out of 2021 in terms of Team Redline and their successes?
I would say the cooperation with our partners, with BMW and with Porsche 24. I think we had so many special event wins this year, and these are very important for us, of course. And I think a few years ago we really looked at the team and we knew that we had to improve, especially in these long endurance races. And we worked really hard together to figure out, okay, where can we improve, what is missing in our team. And together with the whole management, with the engineers and with all the drivers together, we pretty much shaped it up this year. And that, because we worked so hard for it, makes it extra special. So I'm really proud of those wins.
It's such a massive structure that teams have to have these days. What are you most looking forward to into 2022 and the competitions that we're expecting to see?
Yeah, the same thing again, but now we need to probably defend our victories from the year before, so that brings a different kind of pressure. And we can't get lazy. The other teams get stronger and stronger, and sim racing gets more professional, and the prizes get bigger. So we just want to beat everyone and make sure that we are on top of our game. That will be the biggest challenge, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
Well, actually, congratulations, Team Redline. are the best team in 2021, and you have your second Simmy Award.
Thank you very much. Love it.
In these COVID times, best event doesn't necessarily mean an on-site event, although a few of them have crept back in, but all kinds of events, both online and in arenas. And Lewis, a very interesting category with some quite a breadth of competitions out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice to see competitions from across the sim racing world. Of course, it's not just one platform. We have them all over the place, and there are great competitions on all of these. I'd love to see them move back to a couple of live events and LAN events. I mean, we all do, but as things are at the moment, we have some brilliant series that have elevated sim racing past where we could have imagined it be a few years ago.
All of the major platforms are represented in these nominations.
The nominees for Best Event are ADAC GT Masters Esports, Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup, Le Mans Virtual Series, the SimGridX VCO World Cup, and VCO Pro Sim Series.
And the winner is the SimGrid VCO World Cup from Assetto Corsa Competizione.
So much competition with so many established players and a new player to the party. SimGrid takes the victory in our best event category. Founder of SimGrid, David Perel, is with us. David, it must be hugely satisfying to see support from a community for a new venture like yourselves.
It was a massive surprise, actually very unexpected. I remember seeing the VCO Awards last year before we'd basically launched the SimGrid to the world officially, and thinking it would be great if in 5 or 10 years we get an award for that. I wasn't expecting the World Cup to be awarded so soon, so I'm incredibly grateful. My team is also.
Why do you think it's associated itself so greatly to the community and has been supported so well?
To be honest, I think that a lot of the format and stuff like that was via community feedback. So the first thing that we did was we ran a World Cup, if you will, last year, but quite quietly, and just gathered as much feedback as we could. And also, I think we just tried to make it as big as possible. I personally invested a lot of money for the prizes and so on to just try and raise our game. We brought in Mike, who manages our broadcasting, which the production levels were pretty crazy for a team as small as us. The commentary was really good, the stewarding as well. So I think from that side, we just tried to just raise our game as much as I could, or as much as we could, sorry. I always ask my team, if we review the last race, how does that compare to real life events that are broadcast all over the world, and how can we try to aim to get closer to that?
So what are the plans for SimGrid for 2022 as you continue to grow up as a company as well as grow it?
We do have a lot of plans. I don't want to give too much away. The format of the World Cup will change next year, and we're also looking to add other games to the platform, and seeing how we can integrate those into some kind of World Cup idea. Just trying to find the best drivers across multiple sims. We're not so obsessed about finding the best driver in all of sim racing, but more about finding the best drivers in each of those categories. So I want to see if we can achieve something there.
Awesome. David, congratulations on both the SimGrid, your personal racing this year, and everything you've managed in the world of sim racing.
Thank you so much. And I just want to end off by just thanking my whole team, Michael, Josh, James, who have been managing a lot of elements of SimGrid, and Coach Dave, and also Mike Yao for the broadcasting, my development team, commentators. But I really, really want to extend a thank you to our stewards, who spend so much time having to watch all of us, crash into each other, post so many reports. If we host a 24-hour race for them, it's much longer than 24 hours because they have to do the post-race reviews and so on. And I'm just really grateful for the effort that they put in. So big thank you to everyone on my team. You guys are legends.
Well, the next category is done, and we've got these two now to answer questions about it. I'm going to go to George first and ask about the best car. Tough category there, but we had 4 cars from iRacing, including the infamous VW Jetta, but only one from ACC, and that was the one that came out on top. Is that a bit of a surprise, do you reckon?
Well, they say safety in numbers, obviously not in this category, that's for sure. Naturally, I think we're all a bit surprised the VW Jetta didn't win, I think, at the end of it. I know you were yourself there, Lewis, but naturally the Ferrari 488 GT Evo, a very smart-looking car, very popular as well with the ACC community. We see it time and time and again. But you look at the likes of the Porsches, used relentlessly as well in iRacing, many others as well that certainly cling to the hearts of many whenever they're driving out on track. So all of them in my book are capable of winning this award, but kudos to the Ferrari team and FDA Esports on securing this one.
And we've also got the best newcomer category, which for me is a great category. What are your thoughts on the idea of having this category that focuses on those teams, those drivers that are new to the sim racing world this year? Of course, won by Esports, who are a great team amongst themselves, moving to the front of the sim racing world.
Yeah, and kudos to them as well, as you quite rightly say. But then again, just the fact that these have all been nominated as well in amongst them is incredible. Obviously, Ballas Esports have been making a big name for themselves as well. Great to see the names like Robbie Stapleford and Abel Torres coming through, as well as Prismatic Motorsports as well. But all kudos go to Esports on securing this one. Obviously, they've all got bright futures ahead, and the very fact that we have this category is a wonderful thing because it gives that extra little bit of hunger to those taking part in sim racing, and it'll probably inspire them to go maybe one better and win an award in the SIMMYS next year.
Yeah, they'll all be superstars of the future, I'm absolutely sure. Arjuna, we also had Best Event, which last year was won by Le Mans Virtual. That crown now heads over to the SimGrid VCO World Cup. But a really strong category, this one, saying that we have categories and competitions from all different simulators as well.
Yeah, and it's not just series that have, real-life counterparts, the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup, the Le Mans Virtual, as well as the ADAC GT Masters on Race Room. But the fact that we had the Pro Sim not win is a bit of a shock to me in some ways, given the level of competition that we saw, both with the sim drivers. We saw drivers from across of the sim racing universe join us on the iRacing platform for that. But then real-world superstars as well, the likes of Max Verstappen coming and joining us for the final round, and so many other people, Robert Wickens, Tony Kanaan, the list goes on and on. So a bit of a surprise there. But what we've seen from the World Cup, the SimGrid World Cup powered by VCO, is endurance racing, right? And across so many different venues. That's the one thing I love about Assetto Corsa Competizione. Some of the tracks just don't exist on other simulators here in our sim racing universe.
Yeah, it was a brilliant season from start to finish. No bias. Away, don't worry. No, absolutely not. No bias. Speaking of which, we've got the nominees for the best team, a category that was won by Team Redline, I believe, for the second year in a row. A fantastic, a load of competition in this. But I don't know how you felt. I was always kind of eyeing this one up to be the battle between two of the most powerful teams in sim racing, between Coanda and Redline. But I was expecting maybe someone might sneak a victory in this one. It's a tough category.
It was a tough category, and I think you're right. I think a lot of people expected it to go the way of either Coanda or Redline, given that they are strong not just in one simulator, but across of simulators. We've seen Redline in R Factor 2, in iRacing, and Race Room, and so many more as well. Ballas Esports, we've seen them in the newcomer category. Great to see them get the nod here as well. Door Esports, they've got someone like Moritz Lohner, who is really blurring the lines between virtual and reality, and so many other talented drivers as well. And then, I know no bias, Lewis, but Rocket Simsport, which is powered, of course, by Zansho, a team that you're affiliated with as well. 5 very worthy winners, but only 2 of them, if you ask me, really represent the best of sim racing in that they compete across of simulators. Coanda very much have focused on iRacing in years past. This was the year that we saw them kind of break out of the box, as it were, competing more in R Factor 2, focusing a little bit more on the Assetto Corsa Competizione. Redline, though, I mean, what a stacked lineup they've got in each of their simulated lineups. So, very worthy winners, but I think next year, if Coanda's focus continues to grow and expand, maybe we'll see a different winner.
Well, we'll have to wait and see in next year's categories. But we've still got plenty of categories coming up. We'll go back to Ben and see what's happening.
Our first category with Arjuna is Best Platform, and we are very much spoilt for choice in the world of sim racing in terms of our platforms. But to judge the best one is so tricky, Arjuna.
Yeah, I mean, each of the platforms really has things that it does best. iRacing, if you ask me, it's where the multiplayer experience is the most plug and play. R-Factor, a lot of people say it's got the best driving characteristics of all of the simulators once you get it dialed in. Assetto Corsa Competizione, maybe unrivaled if you want the GT3 experience. Race Room has so many interesting things that go for it, so much content, its own unique multiplayer experience. And then F1, it's probably not necessarily the most hardcore of sims, but it might be the biggest platform, the one that encourages people to take the leap into esports racing, and we see some really huge competitions across of all 5 of these platforms.
Absolutely, certainly eyes on all the different ones. How much of the community has the support? Let's see the nominations.
The nominees for Best Platform are iRacing, ACC, Racer Room, R-Factor 2, and F1 2001.
And so the Simmy for Best Platform goes to iRacing.
Probably the hardest fought competition here in the Simmy Awards this year, and the community have voted for iRacing as their #1 platform. Kevin Bobbitt joins us. Kevin, to be voted #1 over these platforms that offer so many different things must be a huge honour for the whole team at iRacing.
Absolutely, it's a tremendous honor. I mean, there's a lot of good titles out there, and everybody brings something to the table. You know, we like to think we're different in certain areas, and to have the community vote for us is amazing. I mean, that's kind of the best award you can get when the community votes for you. So thank you for everybody, and you know, really pleased and honored to be here to represent iRacing.
You know, and there's been attacks from newer platforms over the last couple of years, but you guys continue to develop and continue to have such a long-term plan of introducing new cars and new tracks. It does seem to be a huge effort that goes in every single quarter of a year.
That's true. I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, well, iRacing's been around since 2008 or something, so it's an old title." But we continue to evolve, right? So as you mentioned, we have scheduled quarterly updates, and if you look back at what we offered when we first launched, it doesn't look anything at all the same. So that's kind of our core, that we want to continue to evolve, bring new features, new content, obviously, new cars, tracks, things like that, but really make the product more enjoyable to use and bring new features that people are asking for.
I think the biggest feature that we saw this year from you guys, for me anyway, was the introduction of a relevant 2021 Formula 1 car for the guys to enjoy, because you can drive a Formula 1 car on other platforms, but it's certainly not a simulation experience that you have introduced. How hard and difficult was that relationship to form and that development to come to fruition?
Well, it's certainly one of our biggest launches this year, right? And talk about timing, right? I mean, all the buzz in the F1 world is going on, and so that worked out well. But it was an interesting relationship. I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to the podcast with James Voles from Mercedes, but it started with them reaching out to us. They were evaluating lots of titles. They wanted to understand what each title offered, and they worked with us well before we even talked about the Formula 1 car. They just wanted to understand what we could do, how we could do it, could we take input. They offered up all kinds of feedback. Obviously, they know something about racing and lots of different cars. They have lots of experience. We were able to integrate a lot of their input into many cars, nothing related to Formula 1 cars. And then they said, hey, what do you think about building a couple of our cars? And we said, absolutely. So we jumped at the chance, worked with them for the, this has been going on for a year and a half. I think this all started right at the COVID shutdown when they were looking for things to do. The racing stopped. So it's been a wonderful relationship. So far, the car has been really well received. It is amazing to drive. I can drive it. I can't drive it super fast, but that's kind of typical for my skill level in sim racing. So it's really a unique situation to have this much information, this much feedback from a team of their caliber.
And as we come to a close of 2021, is there anything that you can tell us about exciting news from iRacing in 2022?
Oh, always looking for the scoop, are you, Ben? Well, we've announced that we're working on the next Mercedes car, so that's coming. It's a ways off, right? The car's not even done in the real world, right? I think they're just testing it now, but we'll be actively building that. Can't really reveal any other secrets, but we do have a lot coming. Just like you said, we have quarterly updates. We have some big things that I think the community will be really excited about coming up in 2022.
Kevin, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, and thank you for this, everyone.
A late addition to the SIMMY Awards for 2021, the Oval Racer, but we're putting them all into one category, Arjuna, and as you well know, there are plenty of different types of Oval Racer out there as well, and they're all represented here.
Yeah, very much so. You've got really the entire gamut, some real-world drivers, some sim specialists as well. We got Michael Cozy Jr., big time in the community. He's got lots of support behind him as well. Won the E-Racer Firecracker 400, one of the biggest races on the oval calendar that we see in the private leagues. The King of the Bricks, Brandon Traynor, would be my pick with my IndyCar bias. 3-time iRacing Indy 500 winner, the only driver to have won multiple iRacing Indy 500s, and he's done it back-to-back. He's also won all of the big Brickyard races in 2021, very strong contender, as is the 2021 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series champion Keegan Leahy, who is also one of the nicest people you can meet in all of sim racing. Then we got the real-world representation. We got Robbie Lyons, who competes part-time in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, big time as well on Monday night in the Monday Night Racing League that we have that brings together some of the most interesting people that you can find. We've seen Kyle Busch and Dale Jr. racing there. And then we've got Austin Farr, who does some Legends racing, another driver that's really making the step in sim racing and being competitive there. And what a category, Ben, to celebrate the community behind oval racing as well.
Here are those nominations once again.
The nominees for Best Oval Racer are Michael Cozy Jr., Brandon Traynor, Keegan Leahy, Robbie Lyons, and Austin Farr.
And in the newest of our categories, the Simmy for Best Oval Racer goes to Michael Cozy Jr.
A late addition to the VCO SIMMYS for 2021, but a credible addition nonetheless, and Best Oval Racer goes to Michael Cozy Jr. Plenty of different forms of oval racing though, Michael, and so this is a flag for the NASCAR boys.
Absolutely, this is something else. Shout out to all the other nominees. I'm well acquainted with each and every one of them. But yeah, this is crazy, man. Something I didn't believe we could do or do any. Like I didn't really have any expectations whatsoever for this year, and it's crazy the stuff we were able to accomplish and the forms we were able to. Just really proud of the whole team.
Why do you think you've connected with the VCO community in such a way that you've won this award?
That's crazy. Like I said, I really just had one mindset to go out there and race, and a lot of people got behind it and started following me this year, and were able to come in and celebrate these huge accomplishments with me. Some of the big races we were able to win, and yeah, I just gotta thank all those guys. Really made it worth it, to be honest. It's just it's been a long year, and to have all those guys on my side, it's tough to describe, but the emotions, man, it's just grateful for each and every one of them.
And what are the big differences, do you think, between the circuit racer and the oval racer, if we're creating two separate things here?
Well, the oval racing sure has been tight this year. It's from one race to another. The competition level on the oval side has become, I've been a part of it for years now, but this year especially is one of the first years I really tried to go out there and give it all I had, from eNASCAR to the big events, and let me tell you, it is incredible the amount of talent and some of the guys that are coming up in the oval side of things. It is and for sure years to come, it is something else.
Michael, congratulations, and I hope you enjoy your SIMMY Award.
Thank you very much.
Arjuna has the next big category of our SIMMY Awards for 2021, and that is the Real World Sim Pro. And if you look at this one and the next one coming up, Arjuna, is so much blurred lines now these days, with sim drivers being just as good in the real world and vice versa.
It's what we saw from someone like Moritz Lohner this year when he made the step into DTM Trophy with almost zero real-world racing experience. Started on the front row of one of his first races, finished on the podium as well. But we've got such a great group of drivers, and I think a really strong lineup that showcases how far sim racing has grown since last year when things exploded.
Let's have a look who you nominated for our shortlist as the best real-world pro.
The nominees for Best Real World Pro are Max Verstappen, Moritz Lohner, Dennis Lind, James Baldwin, and Lauren Heinrich.
And the Simmy for Best Real World Pro goes to the new F1 World Champion, Max Verstappen.
I mean, unsurprisingly, the best real-world pro in sim racing is also the best real-world driver in the real world. The world champion, Max Verstappen, of course, can't be with us because he's too busy still partying and enjoying that fantastic championship win. But his team manager, if you like, from Team Redline, Etsy Kirchhoff, joins us. What is it like having Max as part of Team Redline?
Yeah, well, incredibly honored, of course, to have him on board. This guy is amazing. He has so much talent, as he has been showing on the real track as well. But his passion for sim racing, is amazing for the team. He's a big part of our team, great ambassador, and yeah, he takes the lead in many things in our team, which absolutely makes the difference in terms of how we approach training, how we reach for success. There's only one way, and that's straightforward to kicking ass, and that's the only mentality that counts, and that's thanks to him for sure.
Do you see lessons that he's learnt in sim racing being played out in the Formula One world on tracks against Lewis Hamilton?
Oh, that's a hard question. I'm not in his car. I can't see through his eyes, but I think the sim racing makes him very consistent, as he's doing a lot of endurance racing, which the main point of endurance racing is to keep it on track and push every lap, but within certain limit, and it can't hurt the performance, in my opinion, but it's definitely hard to answer that question.
And in terms of his commitment, you mentioned it before, but are you surprised, coming from a sim racing world, to have a man such as Max's caliber battling for a world and seeing him come and enjoy iRacing and win special events and win the likes of the VCO Pro Sim.
Yeah, and this guy he's so motivated. He's pushing so hard that everything. Every time he joins a race, he's just going all out, and he takes everyone with him on the winning streak, basically. And yeah, that's how he is. He just doesn't accept losing, and also in sim racing. So when he joins and when he has the time to drive, he makes absolutely sure that he's on it. And I think we saw that this year in Bathurst, where he was from a different planet, and even the LMP2 race the other day, where he just showed up with 1 hour of practice and still took pole. And those things that show that he's the real deal. So yeah, really happy with that.
It's going to be very hard for anybody in the sim racing world to take him and topple him from Real World Pro winner in the SIMMY Awards for 2020 and for 2021. Atsi, thank you very much for accepting his trophy. In the world of sim racing, we have so many competitions, and therefore we have so many champions, so many winners across different platforms. But who have you guys decided is the best racer there is out there? Arjuna, I don't really know how anyone can decide this because there's so many variable factors, so many platforms out there. But I guess this needs to be somebody who is now broadening their horizons and racing across multiple platforms, and perhaps even in the real world as well.
And I think that's something that we're going to really get to celebrate early in 2022 with the Esports Racing World Cup and the Esports Racing League. With more money coming into sim racing, it's not just about being fast in one platform, it's about adapting to the challenges that multiple platforms throw at you, and can't wait to see who's won this category.
Here are those all-important nominations.
The nominees for Best Esports Racer are Joshua Rogers, Moritz Lerner, Jarno Opmeer, Kevin Siggy, and James Baldwin.
And the Simmy for Best Esports Racer goes to Joshua Rogers.
And this year's world champion joins us now. Josh Rogers, it's been quite a big year for you, but I'm interested to know why you believe that the community have voted for you as best esports racer this year.
I mean, I guess firstly, thank you to everyone that voted. It's nice to know that the community felt this way, and yeah, it's obviously very humbling for me to know that, and I'm grateful. I think it's difficult. I mean, at least for me, obviously, I guess PESC was a big thing, and that obviously that season went exceptionally well, even better than what my first campaign went, I would say. Outside of that, though, I think it wasn't necessarily outstanding, but was consistent. So I guess maybe a slight combination of that, maybe potentially across the other sims, the driving that we did, all that we've done in R Factor as well as in Assetto Corsa too, all kind of at the same time. So yeah, there's probably a lot of different factors, but nevertheless, yeah, I'm so thankful for everyone for voting, and yeah, I guess maybe PESC probably played the biggest role in that.
That's been the big change for you this year, because previously an iRacing specialist, very much this year it feels as though you have branched out and put lots of time into the other platforms as well, and have success in all three. So how difficult has that been?
It's certainly been a challenge, adapting to all the sims. I think, at least in the beginning, that was always the hardest part, kind of understanding the differences between the two and trying to make sure that you kind of properly understood the sim before jumping into a competitive event. At the same time, once you kind of got used to it, transitioning between the two wasn't as tricky. It was still difficult, but it wasn't as tricky. But I think the biggest challenge was time management, kind of balancing out your schedule in terms of making sure that you're doing enough practice across the board in all the sims, trying to schedule it in a way that you're not, maybe during the day, say you want to focus more on iRacing. And usually whenever you drive in the evening, it's always good to do that because overnight your brain will process things without you even really thinking about it too much. So making sure that you finish your day on what you want to focus on and you start your next day with what you want to focus on always makes a big difference. And kind of all these things together made it quite tricky to kind of adapt to what was going on with the different sims. At the end of the day, I think we did a great job. Maybe not the perfect job, but nevertheless something that can still be commended on. And yeah, I think it certainly was an important kind of stepping stone, at least for me, knowing that I'm capable of competing at the top level in the other sims too. But yeah, it was always tricky. In the end, a lot easier than what it was at the beginning, that's for sure.
You won't be defending your PESC championship title next year. That's already been announced. So what lies ahead in 2022 for you, Josh? And is this the year where you start branching out into the real world a little bit?
Definitely, it's not the year that we'll be branching out into the real world. That's for sure. There's a lot of other things happening. I can't really speak of it. But yeah, I'm obviously looking forward to the future, and very thankful to be part of such a supportive team in Koana SimSport. And yeah, obviously very thankful for the years that I did have in PESC. It was a fantastic time, and it was a pleasure to compete in any world championship, let alone one like that. So yeah, obviously massive thank you and congratulations to iRacing and Porsche on such a successful series. And yeah, I'll be looking forward to watching it from the sidelines and supporting my teammates in their successes too. Hopefully we can still have a Koanda car winning that championship.
I think we need you as the commentator for next year. That would be the best thing, actually. Josh, congratulations. You are the best esports racer in the VCO SIMMY Awards for 2021.
Yeah, thanks guys. I appreciate it. Thanks everyone for voting as well. It's yeah, it's a really cool trophy too. So thank you. It's nice to be able to have one of these, seeing as I didn't have one last year. So yeah, this one's definitely going on the mantelpiece. Thank you.
So another 4 winners have been crowned as SIMMY Award winners in 2021. And Lewis, we'll start with you with the best platform, because you basically commentate on anything you can, whenever they'll give you the microphone. iRacing coming out on top. But this is a category where it really is anyone's game, because each of our simulators has its unique things that they do really great. Ultimately, though, iRacing's main selling point is its multiplayer experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know me. It's a contentious topic, the my sim is best sim topic. But thankfully, with how sim racing is these days, and all of our drivers jumping between all of the simulators, they do get a really good feel as to the positives and the negatives of each of the simulators. Now, all of our platforms have positives and have negatives, but the idea with iRacing, I think the main reason why it wins this category is the ability to just jump on and race. I mean, 10,000 people signed up to do the Daytona 24 at the start of the year, showing the amount of people that are just on the platform constantly racing. For me, as much as I'm sure I'm going to get some flack from the RF2 community from saying it, but I think iRacing should have won it, and they did.
And that was just 10,000 people for one time slot as well. Didn't include the other one that we had as well. So really illustrates just how big the community is for those special events, and we've seen those in the VCO Grand Slam as well. An award that was added late in the day was the best oval racer, one that was added due to the demands of the oval community. But it is great to get them included in this as well, Lewis. Ultimately, some really great nominees. Brandon Trano, now a 3-time iRacing Indy 500 winner. Keegan Leahy, your 2021 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series champion. Ultimately, though, the 2 favorites, if you ask me, not coming out on top. Michael Cozy Jr., who is very popular, won an e-racer event just a couple of weeks ago, getting himself a big payday. Also trying to qualify for the World Championship Series. He's the one who came out on top in this category.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a fantastic category. And as much as it was a late addition, it's great to see the oval community represented from a driving front, because it is a different skill set racing on the ovals to racing, on your standard road course racing. Anyone who says it's easy racing on an oval, go and give it a go. It's so much harder than you think it is. And to be fair, I mean, I know me and you, we probably would have lent a little bit more towards Brandon Traino. I mean, fantastic driver, king of the Brickyard, of course. And then you've got Keegan Leahy, who's a fantastic driver. But to have it as such a strong category, you need to have your community support. And that's exactly what Michael Cozy Jr. had, and a fantastic driver taking the award. It's not so much a surprise to see that level of backing that he had.
And he's got a really great video about that win in that E-Racer event that's just come out in the last couple of days. So do go and check it out on his social media as well. Gives you a really great insight into competition at that level here on the oval side of things. George, let's talk a little bit then first about the Real World Pro. Newly crowned, newly minted Formula One World Champion. Really is a sim racer to heart as well. We saw him in the last round of the VCO Pro Sim Series. If you ask me, there was only one obvious choice, and that was Max Verstappen.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you could not write it. It was, certainly one big, massive story. I mean, we got to see him in the VCO Pro Sim, which was extraordinary. But then to go ahead and win the Formula One World Championship and prevent Lewis Hamilton as well from going 8 times, essentially, but getting his first, which was a huge, huge story. And certainly one that captured the hearts of many at the same time. But I tell you what, his performances in a sim rig have been absolutely sensational as well. Certainly working with Team Redline, and we heard in the interview with him during the Pro Sim about how keen he was to pursue and grow Team Redline, install his own ideas, also help train up some of the talents that they have there. And that is what Max is all about. He's a lot more than just a driver. He's more than just a real racing driver. He wants to learn, and at the same time, he wants to teach as well, which is absolutely special. Great to see some of these other names as well. Moritz Lerner, Dennis Lind, James Baldwin, Lauren Heinrich. James Baldwin, for his own right, has also been performing extraordinarily well. British GT, of course, he took part with Rocket Motorsport, Jenson Button's team, as some of you might be aware of as well. And he represented them really well as well, and went really close in the championship. Amazing effort from himself, certainly to cross over from a sim side into real life as well. And that's the story of many of these guys. It's amazing, really, honestly.
And so now we get to the best esports racer of the year. We've got representatives from all walks of simulators, all sorts of racing as well. Ultimately, though, it was Jarno Opmeer that came out on top 12 months ago. This time, the 2021 iRacing World Champion Joshua Rogers wins this category, George.
Yeah, different face this year, and Joshua Rogers, in all intents and purposes, does deserve it as well. What an incredible performance at the VCO Pro Sim. We saw many dazzling moves that he pulled off. It was a joy to commentate on. He certainly looks like a huge talent in the world of iRacing and sim racing as a whole. Looking forward to seeing what he does in the future. But you've got to look at the company he keeps as well in this category. Incredible to say the least. Jarno Opmeer, as you say, last year's winner, of course, an F1 Esports dynamo. And not only that, as a big social media star as well and content creator, he's fast becoming one of the greatest social media presences and content creators in the community as well, and I can only see that growing as it goes. We've got others as well, like Kevin Siggy as well as Moritz Lerner. James Baldwin again makes another appearance, and I have to say he's also crossed over in many ways. He's done both ACC, should I say 3 ways? He's gone iRacing, ACC, and F1 Esports, of course, prior, but now he's taking a little bit of a venture into presenting as well, which he's doing a great job in as well, not to mention his real-life racing career. So many talents across the board here in many different areas, and that's what we like to see.
And it'll be interesting for our 2021 winner, Joshua Rogers, what 2022 holds in store for him. Recently announced he'll be stepping away from the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup. We'll see exactly what is in store for the purple and orange next year. Just 2 categories left to go. One that first 3 of us are up for, me, George, and Lewis, up for Best Commentary. We've also got our Hall of Famer to be awarded. So let's go back to Ben to round things off for the 2021 SIMMYS.
For the last 2 Simmy Awards, you'll see that I'm on my own, and one of the reasons for that is in the Best Commentator Award, all 3 of our VCO experts are up for nomination. What is a best commentator? Well, for me, it has to be somebody that you guys, the community, engages with, enjoys, and likes to listen to, and connects with as well. Almost feels as though you are their friend. And for me, that is what we have from our 5 nominations this evening. Clearly, people that you really love and you have voted for in this VCO Best Commentator Award.
The nominees for Best Commentary are Lewis McGlade, George Morgan, Paul Smith, Arjuna Kankipati, and Ross McIntyre.
And this year's Simmy Award for Best Commentator goes to Arjuna Kankipati. Arjuna claiming the title for 2021 after Lewis McGlade, our VCO colleague, won it in 2020. Must be hugely satisfying, Arjuna, to have such massive support from the community out there.
It does, especially since, you know, I'm less than 2 years into this commentary journey. I really joined as a rookie last April as the pandemic came down. Got to work with a team at Racebot, really thrown into the deep end, both on production as a commentator as well. Have got to work on some really cool things and really just learning from the entire community as well. I talk to so many of these drivers almost on a daily basis to learn from them different things about the cars, the tracks, and things that are going on in the community as well. So really, really privileged to win this award.
How have you developed your style in such a short period of time? What have you been listening to? Is it important what the drivers think? And how have you come to where you are now?
Definitely a lot of talking with drivers and understanding kind of what they want, because ultimately they won't feed me information unless they're somewhat happy as well. But the other thing is just reps. I've done almost 400 broadcasts since last April, really just at a breakneck pace. A lot of them endurance events as well, so they've been rather lengthy. And then learning. There are so many great commentators that we have at Racebot, that we have in the community. So listening to them, understanding the things that they do, watching on TV as well, the likes of David Croft and Lee Diffie, for example, at Formula One and IndyCar, 2 major things that I watched. Radio Show Limited as well. Endurance Kings, that I've had the pleasure of actually working with them in this past year as well. So really just trying to understand how others do it and put my own little spin on it.
Now, what's been your highlight so far in your career?
I don't think I can put one highlight because 2021 has been kind of crazy. Working with Radio Show Limited and being on their network was pretty insane. Doing my first World Championship this year with Paul Smith, the iRacing Rallycross World Championship, that was pretty special. Pro Sim, working with you, Ben, George, and Lewis as well, that was really crazy to see, some of the drivers that we had there. Cup of Nations, so many different things. I don't think I can put one highlight down for you.
Well, show us your trophy.
Sitting very happily next to me.
Congratulations. Congratulations on your win of the Best Commentator of the 2021 Simmy Awards.
My name is Juan de Sanchez, and I'm head of a company called iLibris, which provides a full range of services in graphic design, specialized in the world of virtual and real motorsports. Since I was a kid, I felt passionate about motorsport. Although I've not been a huge video game consumer, I've always liked racing video games. So we can say that I've only just played racing video games in my life. Making mods for X Factor allowed my skills as a texture creator to grow significantly. At that moment, I started to learn using Photoshop, Illustrator, and Substance Designer, among other software. In a way, I managed to do some jobs that I was really proud of, having worked on official projects for titles as X Factor or Project Cars. It was then when I started to believe that this activity could be a profession. After that, some professional teams appeared into the scene, and I really considered that I could offer my services to them as a logo and livery creator. Although I work a lot of hours a day, the first thing in my life, of course, is my family. And I'm very happy to have managed to make iLiveries for a living and being able to work from my office, which is at home. That allows me to have a break every time my daughters or my wife requires attention or help. Even so, it's very tricky, this situation, because I feel that I never really disconnect from work, even more being iLiveries a single-man company. Lastly, I must say that I feel really proud of having been inducted into the SIMMY Awards Hall of Fame in recognition of my hard work that I've been putting in over so many years. So thank you very much, VCO. It's a real pleasure to me, and I feel very honored. So thank you very much.
Jimmy Broadbent was our first Hall of Famer, and now it's Wendy who is our second. Welcome and thank you very much for joining us. What does this mean to you to be inducted into the Hall of Fame for VCO SIMMY Awards?
Hello Ben, my pleasure to be here with you today. It's quite a nice feeling, to be honest. Actually, I think it's the first time that I win something. Yeah, it's cool because I take this as a not the award to have done the best livery ever, but I take it as a recognition of my job, my work that I've been doing throughout the past years, and to me it's important that some people give me this award. It's amazing. I feel very honored to get this SIMMY award, and it looks very nice when you have it in your hand, and it's awesome. So thank you very much. It's a real pleasure.
And how did it all start for you? Because it's now really a household name.
Yeah, I started very long ago. Well, I didn't start this as a livery designer, but back in the days, maybe I don't even remember. I think it was around 2006 or 7 that I started to learn Photoshop, and I was liking all the simulators that they were on the stage at that period of time, and I discovered one simulator that was GP4, and I find out that some people were making mods for that simulator, and it was a really good discovery that I found out that these people were making stuff that was much better than the original stuff that the game brought. So yeah, I was really fascinated about that, and I started to make my own modification to the files and incorporate it into the sim. And quickly I entered some forums. I joined some other talented partners, teammates, and we formed a modding group. And yeah, I was so young and I had plenty of time, so you know. And yeah, I started to learn to do things, and we made some interesting stuff, and we get the recognition of the community. And yeah, we started to grow up as a team. we were making some good stuff, I believe. And um, and yeah, we also had a plan to create our own simulator at some point because we had a manager also, and we even had a group of Chinese people that wanted to invest in our project, and I was very fascinated about that. And it was a milestone that I had in my mind that okay, I can quit my job and I can dedicate to something that I feel really passionate about it. But in the end, it came to nothing. And yeah, then I started to look for a way that to work in something related to video games, to simulator also. And yeah, I saw the opportunity as the esport began to be more popular. So I saw that the teams, you know how to say, I don't know, sorry. Yeah, the professional teams wanted, they had their own needings, and yeah, I saw the opportunity to offer the my services as a livery designer and building the identity of the team. And yeah, I started to work for free at the beginning, and yeah, I made some good things that people liked, and yeah, I started to grow and to have more popularity until now.
And your office behind you looks absolutely amazing. You really have made a dream become reality. What do you particularly enjoy about the process of building these liveries?
Well, it's a difficult question to be honest, because I think I still enjoy every part of the design. But I would say that maybe the liveries that I enjoy most designing them, they are the ones that require a more artistic approach and not so much technical lines, you know, but more in a kind of jobs that lets me use the pen tablet, you know, and start drawing. And sadly, these kind of jobs they are not so common, and people or teams don't really want them because you know it's very special and very hard to do something like that. But yeah, I think that the most that I enjoy when I have some kind of this kind of jobs.
Do you have a favourite livery that you've designed?
Well, you're nothing but ask me difficult questions because I don't know. I don't know. Well, I think one of the proudest, one of the jobs that I feel more proudest of is the one that I did for Altus Esports because I designed the whole thing from the logo that in the end worked really well and to delivery. And back at that day, there weren't many teams that went to an asymmetric design, and nowadays it's more typical that teams come to me and ask for that kind of style. Also, the one team that I sponsor now is Team Manity Racing, which in the end it looks very nice with that metallic green. I don't know. Team Husenberg is also one that works very well, and I like it very much. And some other liveries that are not for top teams are for regular sim racers. But of course, I would say some of them, but you don't know them. So it's very hard to have a favorite.
Juan Diego Sanchez, thank you very much for chatting with us, and congratulations, you are now with iLiveries, part of our Hall of Fame.
Okay, thank you so much, Ben.
And that's it for the SIMMYS for 2021. I hope you've enjoyed our show. Just a couple of thoughts from our expert panel before we say farewell and a happy Christmas to you all. Arjuna, first of all, reflecting on the Hall of Famer, such a legend in the world of sim racing, especially on iRacing.
Yeah, if you've seen a broadcasted race on iRacing, you have seen Juan's work with iLiveries. I love some of the stuff he's done specifically for the Cup of Nations, where he's decked out a whole range of cars in country flags. They're so identifiable, so much fun to see, and really well-deserved for Juan.
George, any particular surprises over this evening in terms of who has picked up those prizes?
I think the biggest shocker, Lewis McGlade not winning the photography option, to be honest with you. I was gutted for you, my friend.
All the comms.
Yeah, all the comms as well.
Yeah, someone stole it from me.
Either, so I'm not going there. But no, congratulations to Arjuna on that one. But no, honestly, it's been a tremendous event, and marks the end of a calendar year that's been remarkable. And what it does mean is that we're going to have a brand new one just around the corner as well. So we'll look forward to that. But yeah, all worthy winners.
Commiserations, Lewis, but at least you were absolutely nominated for 2 categories. I didn't even get nominated. Lewis, looking forward to 2022. First up is you and I think, in the biggest event there is ever on VCO.
Yeah, absolutely. With the Esports Racing World Cup and then the Esports Racing League coming up, all the competition for VCO is fantastic. I mean, the SIMMY Awards for me have been like this fantastic way of ending the year and showing the highlights throughout the calendar year over the last couple, and hopefully we get more in 2022. I mean, the idea is, whilst us at VCO, we're growing, we're bringing excellent competition. We hope that kind of continues as a trend for everyone in the sim racing community, that everyone brings their A game in 2022, although I don't really know what extra gear someone can find for the next year.
Thank you very much to Lewis, to George, to Arjuna, to all of you for watching, and congratulations to our SIMMY Award winners for 2021. And that is it for the world of sim racing for 2021. We move our focus into 2022, and it leaves me just to say a ho ho ho, very Merry Christmas. Bye bye.